On the 19th of November, 1828, the composer Franz Schubert died at the age of 31 in his brother's apartment in Vienna. In 31 years, the celebrated Austrian composed a staggering amount of music. His output of Lieder is particularly prolific, with over 600 songs to his name. Of his multitude of Lied, the most well-received and well-sold during his lifetime were his two song cycles, Die schöne Müllerin and Winterreise. Before his death, Schubert composed 14 final Lieder. 7 of these were on texts by the poet Ludwig Rellstab, 6 by Heinrich Heine, and 1, Die Taubenpost, was written by Johann Gabriel Seidl. These pieces remained unpublished until a year after Schubert's death, when Tobias Haslinger, a popular publisher of the time that worked with Schubert, Beethoven, Mozart, and Chopin, collected the works and shared them with the world under the title of Schwanengesang, or Swan Song, a fitting name for the final works of the prolific composer. It is uncertain if this was what Schubert had wanted for these pieces. Graham Johnson's publication, Franz Schubert, The Complete Songs, has a series of interesting points about the publication that seem to invite questioning. Firstly, the title of Schwanengesang was not Schubert's doing, but that of Haslinger, who may have compiled these 14 songs himself, marketing them as a song cycle in the hope to sell as many copies as possible. While Haslinger made claims that he and Schubert spoke of both the Rellstab and Heine sets separately while ironing out the publication deal for Winterreise in 1828, there is no proof of such a conversation. Further disproving this, Schubert himself had tried to publish the 6 Heine songs separately in 1828, but was turned down by the publishing company he had proposed the deal to. Confusing the matter even more are the 7 Rellstab pieces which, along with many other poems, had originally been given to Beethoven by Rellstab himself. However, Beethoven, in bad health near the time of his death, picked the poems he liked and sent them to Schubert instead, letting Rellstab know of this decision through a letter. Due to these facts, it is often thought that both the Rellstab and Heine sets were meant to be published separately, and that the Seidl was simply another unpublished song that got included. There is also heavy debate on the order of the pieces, since nothing was ever written specifically about Schubert's own order. To try and figure out where I stand on the debate, I went to the last autograph manuscript and the original Haslinger publication to compare and contrast. From this research, I found the following. Schubert's autograph manuscript does not have any numbers preceding any of the pieces in the collection. In contrast, every song is numbered in his Winterreise autograph manuscript. I also found that unlike the manuscript, all the songs are numbered in the original Haslinger publication. All the songs are printed together in the same order in both versions. The original manuscript has all the songs in the same bound book of pages. There is no way to tell if the pages were bound by Schubert himself. In the manuscript, the end of the Rellstab and the start of the Heine do not share a page, while the Seidl is on a separate page made of entirely different paper. There are also page numbers written into the book in the upper corners of the manuscript with a clearly different writing utensil than that of Schubert's. Since the Rellstab and Heine poems do not share a page, and the Seidl was written on a different type of paper altogether, I am willing to make an educated guess, along with the fact that Schubert attempted to publish the Heine set by themselves, that the 3 poets were never meant to be published together. Another argument I believe is worth mentioning is that of musicologist Martin Chusid, who argues that the Rellstab and Heine are not only separate works, but that the Heine set should be published in the order from the original poetry book Die Heimkehr. Die Heimkehr is a collection of 111 poems telling a harrowing love story of a young couple whose love is tampered with by a multitude of spirits. Die Heimkehr was originally published in 1826 and then again in 1827 in Heine's Buch der Lieder, a popular source of lieder texts at the time. Chusid's argument is as follows. Take the 6 Heine songs from the original Haslinger publication and reorganize them to be in the order from the original Heine text. Not only does this make sense from a narrative perspective, but the key changes actually add more meaning to the storyline. Das Fischermädchen is the happiest song of the set and seems out of place in the middle where it is put in the Haslinger publication. If placed in the text's order, we end the happiest piece with a major third raise to the next piece, Am Meer. This piece is the only other major song in the set. There is then a change to minor for Die Stadt, which keeps C as its tonic for a smooth transition. We then move into the descent of a minor second twice as the narrative becomes more and more depressing throughout Der Doppelgänger and Ihr Bild. And finally, a full minor third fall at the end, when the narrator has completely lost hope, and the story concludes with the weight of his sorrows on his back in Der Atlas. As a performer, it makes sense to perform the works in this manner to be able to tell a cohesive story, but it also makes me question if Schubert had possibly planned to make this set his final cycle, not as Schwanengesang, but as Die Heimkehr. Schubert's Die schöne Müllerin and Windreise consist of 20 and 24 songs respectively, each taking texts from books of poetry that tell a cohesive story. Of Heine's 111 poems from Die Heimkehr, Schubert's 6 Schwanengesang pieces are numbered as 8, 14, 18, 20, 23, and 24, all from the first third of the book. Could these 6 songs be the first third of something bigger? Could this be the beginning of an unfinished song cycle? In my performance, I will sing these 6 Heine songs and present them as Schubert's unfinished Die Heimkehr. In mein gar zu dunkles Leben strahlte einst ein süßes Bild. Nun das süße Bild erblichen, bin ich gänzlich nachtumhüllt. Wenn die Kinder sind im Dunkeln, wird beklommen ihr Gemüt, und ihre Angst zu bannen, singen sie ein lautes Lied. Ich, ein tolles Kind, ich singe, jetzo in der Dunkelheit, klingt das Lied auch nicht ergötzlich, hat's mich doch von Angst befreit.
Te glücklich sein, oder